Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in today. So we had an awesome weekend. We went out to the deer lease for our first deer hunt of the season. It was a successful hunt. I was able to shoot a really nice doe with my bow. All around great time. The weather was wonderful. The fishing was good in the little creek by the cabin, and we just had a great time with the family. So last year, Kelsey and I made a conscious decision to try to improve our cooking abilities when it came to wild game. And I think we did pretty well for ourselves. We made some really cool things last year, like pork mojo with wild pig, with wild boar. We made Korean street tacos with venison. We grilled whole back straps and just did some really cool stuff. Things that we didn't grow up eating. Growing up, it was your typical chicken fried steak, spaghetti, chili, things like that, which is all great, and we still cook plenty of it. We just decided to try to expand our horizons. And so naturally, this year, we've decided to learn how to cook the heart. Growing up and hunting, you always get to that heart and think, man, I could cook this. And I know people do, but I've always just ended up discarding it with the rest of the pile. But this year, we've decided to save the hearts, learn how to cook them, and we're pretty excited about it. So this evening, we're going to be cooking the deer heart from this weekend's deer using a recipe by Meat Eater. They've got a recipe for a whiskey glazed venison heart, and we're going to give it a try. So let's get into the kitchen and get this thing cut up. Now, don't judge me. It's the first time I've ever cut up a heart, but I think I'll be able to figure it out. All right, I've never cut one of these before, but I've watched a few videos, and I think I can figure it out pretty easily. Everything that I watched said that this fat right here, you want to get that off because it doesn't render, and it's not good to eat. So I'm just going to start by kind of slicing some of that off. That also kind of exposes where the meat and these valves come together, and you want to cut those valves off. So I'm just going to kind of slice some of this fat off all the way around. Right, now I'm just going to slice all this off right here. Okay, yeah. So now you've got your left and your right chambers here, and you've got to separate those. And they're separated by this center piece here. So I believe what I can do is just cut kind of right through here. Yeah, and follow where those two come together. Yeah, I should be able to just slice that right down. Okay. I'm just gonna kind of open that up a little bit. Then you get these little strings in here that you want to cut out. And I'm just going to kind of clean it up so it looks nice and cooks up right. Okay, and that's going to be one little steak right there. Like that. And same thing here, kind of cut these little strings out. Alright, and there's our second little steak. And that's what they said on the YouTube videos that I watch, is that you would end up with one thicker side and one thinner side. So they're going to cook, very different from each other. Alright, and then somehow I can make a steak out of this sucker too. So I'm just going to kind of cut off everything that doesn't look appetizing and probably call that good. That little guy didn't turn out quite as pretty, but I think I can trim it up and maybe even butterfly it, and it'll cook up a little better. So we're just going to cut right down the center and butterfly this into a little steak. Something like that. There. Alright. So while I was cutting up the heart, I went ahead and started my charcoal fire out here on the grill in the backyard. So now this is lit. We've got a good hot fire going. And now I'm going to take my skillet, which I've put just enough oil in to coat the bottom, you see. And we're going to throw that on our charcoal fire and let it get good and hot. And while we're waiting for that skillet to get good and hot, we're going to go ahead and put the rub on our heart steaks. Now this rub is something that I threw together following that meat eater recipe, and it is made up of brown sugar, coffee, salt, pepper, and thyme. And to be honest with you, I don't know what ratios I used. I just kind of started throwing it all together until it tasted good. So we're just going to take a pinch of this stuff and go ahead and coat these steaks really well. Alright, our skillet is good and hot, so we're going to go ahead and throw these steaks on there. Now I need to keep in mind that this one is a lot thicker than the other two, so this one's going to take a little bit longer to cook, but here we go. All right, I think I'm going to call these two smaller ones done. And we might leave that bigger one in there for just a minute longer. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull him off. Now I'm going to go run this inside real quick. Okay, now we're going to take our whiskey and we're just going to pour some in the skillet to deglaze it, get all the little cracklings and burnt pieces and things like that to come up off the skillet and become part of this sauce that we create. We're going to throw some butter in there with it. And you don't want this to get too hot because you don't want that butter to brown and separate. So you just want to really melt the butter and heat this up, and then it's done. Now we take our sauce off of the fire and we pour it over the top of our steaks. And there it is. We've got our bourbon glazed venison heart. We've got some squash and some glazed carrots. So we're going to cut into this thing and see how it tastes. It's pretty dang good. It's actually a lot more mild than I was expecting. You can really taste the coffee, and it's sweet because of all the brown sugar, but it's good. It's really good. It's not gamey at all. In fact, if anything, I'd say it has less flavor than I expected. I like it. I'm pleased.
Success?
Success.
Hey,
Hey, you want to eat some deer heart? Here you go. Oh, here you go.
Is it yummy?
Well, that is going to do it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope you give this recipe a try. It's actually really good. I'm very impressed with the flavor of deer heart. It's not what I was expecting, but I think it's better than what I expected. So give it a shot this deer season. And if you would like to see the recipe to this one that I did, I'll include the link in the description below. So check that out if you want to give this a try. Thank you all so much for watching. Y'all have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday.